I would have uploaded this yesterday, but because this is an emergency and this is insidious, and I want to read this to you just as it's written, with no commentary, which is not my practice. I understand that usually I'll start and stop and stuff like that, but this is too important, and so I wanted to just read this to you, and then I'll give you a comment at the end. I would have uploaded it yesterday, but I try not to do this kind of stuff on the Lord's Day. But side issue. I didn't mean anything by that. Anyway, Michael O'Fallon from Sovereign Nations. I know a lot of you guys aren't on Twitter, and those of you who are, some of you are blocked by Michael. But I think you need to hear this. This is something that you need to hear, and you really need to think this through. Here's what he says. This is about the Christ is King controversy. I think you've seen a little bit about this. Even if you're not on Twitter, you probably have heard about this, where people are using the phrase Christ is King as an anti-Semitic slur. And this is very important because this actually adds another layer to the already problematic usage of Christ is King, and Christ is Lord too. It's both. They're interchangeable. Both are used as anti-Semitic slurs in our time. But Michael actually, I think, has something very interesting to offer to the conversation. So let's just get to it, okay? Michael O'Fallon says this: "It seems necessary to review the strategy of reflexivity once again. The alchemical process employed by malicious individuals who seek to instigate major shifts in public opinion is known as reflexivity. Reflexivity essentially involves utilizing dialectical methodologies to transform that which is not into possibility and eventuality into reality. The effectiveness of reflexivity relies on the use of fertile fallacies to sustain its momentum. These fallacies consist of partially untrue statements that contain some elements of truth, or they can be accurate statements manipulated in a postmodern manner during dialectical warfare. For instance, the statements Black Lives Matter is undeniably true. However, it is unfortunately exploited by neo-Marxist, militant, authoritative, and postmodern Puritan insurgency groups that aims to overthrow our constitutional republic. In the video, recorded in June of 2022, provided below, I will explain the workings of this process and present examples from both mainstream media and evangelical Christianity. I'm not going to play this video. It's 13 minutes, but I highly recommend you watch it. Reflexivity depends on an unending series of positive feedback loops that saturate the media landscape with uninterrupted flow of unquestioned information. The repetition of the same talking points is necessary to achieve the desired outcome of reflexivity. On the left side of integralism, the strategy of repressive tolerance coined by Herbert Marcuse is aggressively employed to silence those who oppose the mandated narrative, demanding action and compliance from all. On the right side of integralism, the aggressive utilization of no enemies to the right, from a Schmittian perspective, ensures that anyone who questions the reflexive goals of the growing movement is silenced. Interestingly, when faced with challenges, the right-leaning movement appears to align more with Marcuse's approach rather than Schmitt's. And again, there's a video here that I highly suggest you watch. He goes on, similar to the Black Lives Matter movement, certain militant integralist groups are aiming to instigate a significant polarizing divide within our country. Much like how the neo-Marxists manipulated the valid statement, Black Lives Matter, to further their malicious agenda, hardcore Roman Catholic integralists and Protestant neo-integralists are also using the unquestionably true Christ is King or Christ is Lord to attract unsuspecting Christians to their reactionary movement, ultimately leading to the fragmentation of our nation. This coercive and authoritarian movement, if successful, will effectively bring an end to our constitutional republic. It will also fulfill the divisive and separatist objectives sought by the Marxists affiliated with Black Lives Matter. He also has a video here that I highly suggest you watch. He goes on, any resistance to the message must be promptly eliminated or ridiculed. A shield of experts or leading voices is established around the wheel of reflexivity. Anyone who opposes the momentum of the paradigm-shifting movement is immediately confronted, suppressed, and regarded as outside of the tribe and working against winning or even the will of God. A wider-known society example of reflexivity is 1. The COVID-19 lockdowns, 2. The advancement and spread of critical race theory after the death of George Floyd, 3. The pseudo-panacea of vaccinations, 4. The insistence on an all-in support of Ukraine and the hatred of Russia, and 5. The sustainability and degrowth movement. He says, examples of reflexivity in evangelical Christianity. 1. The infusion of critical social justice across nearly every ministry and parachurch ministry in evangelicalism. 2, the introduction of coercive neo-integralism through Christian nationalism. In each situation, a newly minted group of experts or leaders are recruited to authenticate the fertile fallacy within the reflexive movement. To effectively create the movement of reflexivity, the following methodology must be used: problem, reaction, solution. It begins with a problem that requires requires response and an immediate solution. Problems such as, quote, a deadly virus, a deadly systemic racism, DQSH, or classical liberalism. Then, an aggressive push is made to, quote, defeat the enemy and separate from those who are dehumanized. We will be told to dismantle our nation, our constitution, and follow the new path of integralism, which just happens to be the same system being pushed by the WEF and the Vatican. So there is that. He goes on, he says, the strategically planned reaction, or neo-reaction, follows the problem reactions such as locking down the entire economy of the nation, shifting everyone into incorporate DEI, demanding the embrace of Christian nationalism and a Christian magistrate, and calling for a national divorce or for balkanization of the United States. He goes on, solutions will eventually be introduced further along in the reflexive process. Everyone must be traced and tracked according to their health and their vaccinated status. Everyone everywhere must participate in an economic system that is based upon ESG and distributism. Please see the article from Marco Rubio below. The nation must be refactored for subsidiary and balkanized according to the ideological and theological beliefs. New Christian nationalist leaders have now suggested sexting will be made illegal. Sexting will be made illegal, which will, of course, require the constant surveillance of communications from an outside moral authority. Over a relatively short period of time, movements created by reflexivity produce a paradigm-shifting change within an affinity group, a nation, or a civilization. Anyone who openly opposes the movement, such as Christian nationalism, will be subjected to neo-Maoist struggle session characterized by the dissemination of false information and crude retorts from individuals who assert their loyalty to the principles of Christ. For over 2 decades, the evangelical and Catholic faiths were manipulated like puppets as their devoted leaders introduced Marxism and postmodernism into the church. Many years ago, I cautioned numerous leaders who had embraced Christian nationalism that it would become the reaction to the solution of critical race theory. Despite warnings from either myself or James Lindsay about the usage of thought-terminating cliches or other knee-jerk movements, a significant number of people still choose not to listen, even if they have disagreements with some of our views, and blindly follow the next current thing. How do we stop the alchemical process of reflexivity? 1, by questioning the bandwagon movements. You must support the current thing that insists on our participation. 2, by giving the, quote, we must do this now in response to the crisis movements a bit of time to show their true intentions. And 3, by asking what changes are you requiring for us all to make in order to accomplish your goals. In other words, give the reflexive movement a bit of time to reveal their true intentions of those that are insisting you must participate. Be discerning. This is insidious. I mean, who could have thought that saying Christ is King or Christ is Lord could contain all of this baked into the cake? This has been a long con. A long con. And so many of us have been duped by it. I mean, did you know? I mean, honestly, I want you to search yourself. Did you know that when you were saying Christ is King, that was a slogan that meant all of that other stuff, that balkanizing the country and destroying the constitutional republic and Maoist struggle sessions and DEI and all of this kind of stuff? Did you know that? Now, I didn't put it up here, but in another thread, he did another one of these threads, which, again, I highly recommend you read. He noted that Christ is King, Christ is Lord, and Black Lives Matter are very similar. In fact, even in the iconography, I don't know how to pronounce that word. You understand. I went to public school. Even the font itself, even the way it's presented, it's the same thing. They have the same goals. That's what Michael is saying. This is insidious. And it's a long con. In fact, I believe that Michael O'Fallon undersold how long this con has been going on. Here's what I found in my extensive research. Acts 2:36. This is the 1st century. This is a long con. These are the words of God. Therefore, let all the house of Israel know assuredly that God has made the same Jesus whom ye have crucified, both Lord and Christ.